Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rotary Club of Seattle. For those visiting, I'm the president, Mark Wright. It's great to have all of you here today. This is the fourth oldest Rotary Club in the world. It's one of the largest. We have a great program lined up for you today. Our main program features a panel of female entrepreneurs from here in Seattle, led by Garnick from the Puget Sound Business Journal. That's our main program coming up. We're starting a little bit early today because we are going to give some attention and some focus to the Seattle Rotary Service Foundation and the Rotary Foundation. Those are the funding arms of all the service work that we do in Rotary. So we'll have more on that in just a little bit. First up, we have our invocation for the day with Rob Labosco. Rob, come on up.
Thank you, Mark. Fellow Rotarians, today we celebrate Rotary. We will hear about our foundation, SRSF, and about the Rotary Foundation. And we will be asked to give. As Rotarians, we are used to giving. Our time, our passion, our money. It's never easy, but we do it anyway. Why? How do we explain this experience? How can we let others know what we know, feel what we feel? We have service above self, which for us says everything, but for others, not enough. We have the four-way test, which somehow manages to say too much and too little at the same time. It's up here every week, and I still can't remember all four. I think an easy explanation eludes us because no one of us will ever master Rotary. We are Rotary, and the deeper our connections and the more we learn from one another, the more each one of us grows. And Rotary changes again. We can spend the rest of our lives trying to catch up. Well, one could only hope.
Now for the main program, we have a panel of female entrepreneurs moderated by the Puget Sound Business Journal's Garnick. Coral is the healthcare and retailer correspondent, expert at Puget Sound Business Journal. The entrepreneurs we're featuring today are Shen, Rebecca Lyman, Jody Hall. I'll let Coral introduce them and talk a little bit more about their backgrounds. But first I wanted to recognize a member of our club who has been a remarkable female entrepreneur for decades now here in Seattle. Laurel James. Laurel, if you would please stand up. So, Laurel was an entrepreneur before that was a buzzword or even cool. Laurel is the founder of Super Jock and Jill. 1975, she opened what we believe to be the first running store in North America. Laurel did that at a time when business was mostly a man's game, and the running world was definitely a man's game. I don't think that women ran in the major races. Yeah, Laurel started running in Keds, and she was like, why am I running in these Keds? We need something better. How many locations do you have now? 2 locations now? Okay. So anyway, Laurel succeeded in business, and she has also succeeded as a leader in our community, giving back. She's been a member of our club since 1992. So please, let's welcome and say thank you to Laurel James. Thank you. So thank you, Laurel. All right, I'm going to turn over the program now to Garnick from the Puget Sound Business Journal for our main program. Coral, take it away.
Thank you. Before I let these lovely ladies introduce themselves, I'm going to give a little plug for the Business Journal. If you thought the Plymouth housing numbers were staggering or shocking, pick up the Business Journal, not this Friday, but next Friday, because we'll have a big homelessness section that you should all read. And I know you all subscribe, so. I'll just let you guys take it away if you want to introduce yourselves to these guys and tell them what you do.
All right, my name is Shen. I'm the founder of Savor Seattle Food Tours. So that's my part-time job in addition to being, I guess, seafarer royalty when I was here a few months back, knighting your president, Mark. So Savor Seattle Food Tours, we offer guided food and wine tasting adventures that explore Seattle's best restaurants and eateries. And I have the distinct pleasure, actually, of working with Jody Hall with her businesses, Cupcake, Royale, on our food tours. So That's me in a nutshell.
And Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lyman, co-founder and principal of the Garrigan Lyman Group. We're a strategic digital agency based here in Seattle with offices also in Boise and New York. We focus on brand strategy, audience engagement, and digital delivery. And I'm very pleased to be here today. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Jody Hall, and I am the founder of Cupcake Royale. I started that cupcake company, the first cupcake bakery outside of Manhattan to open in the United States in 2003, which is crazy. My friends thought I was nuts to do that. But my vision was really around, and I grew up at Starbucks. I started there when there were 30 stores, and Howard had just bought the company, and I learned under one of the great entrepreneurs of our time, really, in terms of not only building a great business, but building a culture that's people first and supports community, and really took that playbook for Cupcake Royale. And so now we have 6 locations. We're on Alaska Airlines, and we're a beloved Seattle brand, and I love what we do to engage community and have bake sales to raise lots of money for different causes, which is great. And then in 2013, I started a new business in the now legal, at least statewide legal, marijuana industry, and it's called the Goodship, and we are makers of damn fine edibles that are dosed at a microdose of a quarter dose up to a full 10 milligram dose, and are trying to create a new future and narrative around a different way to imbibe that allows us to profoundly connect.
Well, the first thing I wanted to do was ask about funding, because when you have a new idea, that's kind of the first thing you got to get your hands on. And I know you two were self-funded, so I'll just go straight back to you, Jody. And if you could tell us a little bit about the funding that you got for Cupcake in the earlier days, and then getting funding for Goodship, especially in an industry that's not legal federally, and how that works.
Absolutely. I was fortunate enough to have the foresight right after graduating from Seattle U to buy a house in this market, and bought a house in Tacoma, and actually have ridden that in this crazy real estate market over the many years, and did a home equity line of credit to finance Cupcake Royale, as well as I had Starbucks stock that was kind of my safety net. And then and so that worked out, and that business cash flows quickly because we're buying things, we're turning them into finished goods and selling them on a daily basis, and so that worked out well. In terms of financing Goodship, and a company in the, it's a federally, it's a Schedule I drug that has no benefit to society, is how that currently is stated, and how the United States allowed states to do this creates a lot of pain. But we've raised money at Goodship in 2 rounds, and I did that through friends and family in the first round and the second round, and it became incredibly difficult after the presidency of Trump and Sessions, honestly, and his reluctance to embrace that, and it made it really, really challenging for folks to want to invest in that. So it's a long story. I'll be happy to talk to you about raising for pot marijuana.
And so one thing I wanted to ask all 3 of you were, what are a couple of things that you wish you would have known going into starting your businesses that would have just made life a whole lot easier? Rebecca, how about we start with you?
Well, there's probably a lot of things I'm glad I didn't know going in. But I think, I firmly believe in no risk, no reward. You have to take risks in order to have a successful business. And I think you have to be prepared to do that. And not everybody is going in, and it's pretty scary. And the other thing I would just say is that, own your own business, make your own hours. Yeah, like all of them, every single one is spent thinking about the business. So just a word of caution.
I would also add to that this idea of launch it broken, fix it live. So don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough. I know that if I had waited an extra 6 months, we would not have been the market leader that we are today in this space. Very quickly, right after we launched, there was another food tour operator that launched, and then now there are, I think, 9 different companies just in Seattle alone. And so for us to have come out of the gate strong, it wasn't because we'd done it before. Heck, I'm not even a Seattle native, and I decided, hey, after 6 months of living in this town, I'm going to start a tour company here in Seattle. You can do it. You can definitely do it. I'm living proof of that. So launch it, broke it, fix it live. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough.
And what about you, Jody?
What I wish I would have done, I think at Cupcake Royale, I really was fortunate. I definitely leveraged a lot of my Starbucks pals, whether it's signing leases or running a pro forma and pressure testing, talking to other businesses. That worked out pretty well. I probably should have hired a professional baker out of the gate, but I didn't. And at Goodship, I think what I didn't realize is everybody calls this the Wild West, and it truly is. And I know in normal entrepreneur world, because I feel like this is your business on drugs, and it's a lot harder. And I wish it's usually, it costs twice as much and it tastes twice as long, and I literally think it's between 5 and 10 times as much and about that much as long. So I probably should have paid myself and raised that. I work for, Goodship's been going on for 3.5 years, and I just received my first paycheck about 2 months ago.
One thing that I think will be particularly interesting to this crowd is Seattle's passed a lot of regulations recently. There's minimum wage and scheduling, there's talk of income tax and head taxes and all of those kind of things. So what has it been like for you guys navigating these changes and kind of adjusting your business strategy, and what have you had to do?
Gosh, where's the alcohol when you need it? Jeez. Goodness, cut to the quick. All right. I think that as a small business owner here in Seattle, I've never cared as much about politics until now. I never was very political, and I think that as your role in the community grows and your presence and visibility grows, you kind of have to take a stand. And there are times where it's really uncomfortable. And I can say that as a small business owner here in Seattle, that I'm not always on the same page with the leadership here in our town. And so I think it's kind of forced some very interesting strategic changes when I look at what's going to happen with our business 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And a lot of that is driven by increasing pressure on labor costs here in Seattle specifically. And so and I know we're going to talk a little bit about technology, that is a huge part of our pivot so that we solve for some of these issues relating to the high cost of doing business here in Seattle.
What about you, Rebecca? Has there been some changes that you've had to make because of this?
Well, I would echo the labor costs. You know, salaries are skyrocketing with some of our fabulous companies that are here in Seattle, Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook and Google and everybody else who is hiring for the same types of people that we're hiring for. You know, I think that small business is the engine of the economy, and here we're lucky to have some big businesses that are the engine too, but there has to be room for everybody to play.
And Jody, I'm curious, especially with Goodship, because there's this whole other set of regulations on top of, you know, what's been implemented in Seattle. What's it been like navigating not only changes happening in Seattle, but also at the state level when they keep the Liquor Control Board keeps changing things?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the traditional business side at Cupcake Royale, I've been very much a part of a very progressive agenda. I even got to stand next to President Barack Obama as he talked about women in the economy in 2010 in a backyard in Ravenna, somewhere around here, and really believe in like this affordable care for all, and put my neck out there as a business to say that why do entrepreneurs have to pay twice as much for half the coverage? And I was astounded coming from Starbucks how much it costs to cover my employees because I wanted to do that. I've been on the same side as the legislators, and I think minimum wage, even though I support that, and I think we've ignored wage for way too long and trickle down, I'm not sure how well that works, it is going to have a profound impact on Cupcake Royale. It's hard to navigate, and with 100 employees, we do a revenue that's like 5.67 million a year with razor thin margins. Every dollar increase, it's a $100,000 cost to me, and we are underwater in a year or two. So I got to figure that out, and so it does drive me to think about I should automate, I should have less people. How can I build a fulfillment thing that people can just come up and grab and go versus creating these community spaces? And it's challenging. I worry about that. And then definitely in the regulation with the legal marijuana industry that is now in 29 states, and California is going to go 6th largest economy in the world. California is going rec on January 1st. Just in that state alone, and Goodship's opening in that market, hopefully in December, maybe January, there are, I think, county level regulations on top of state level, county level, city level, incredibly complex, and needing a legal bench of quite a team to navigate that. That's just one state, and we can only manufacture in one state. We can't cross state lines. There's a lot of, we work with the LCB, we're very involved in the legislative process to help them understand how this business can create jobs, how it can create tax revenue, states' rights, all these great things. And it's complicated, and I'm involved on many levels.
And on the technology front, and maybe Rebecca, you can take this one. Are there some trends that you've been seeing businesses trying to adjust to that, or going to automation or brand development that you've been seeing in your?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, historically in our business, our customers have been a lot in the technology space. Obviously, we're here in Seattle. But interesting, the trend now is really to customers who are not historically in the digital space, but they are required to go through a digital transformation. They have to, in order to be competitive, in order to be able to automate some of their processes, in order to be able to resell to any kind of retail. Everybody has got to embrace digital, and so we find our client base is really focused on this digital transformation and how they can accomplish it without sacrificing some of the things that made their brand great.
And because we have 3 amazing women up here, gotta ask, when it comes to being female entrepreneurs, you know, in the city right now, or in the country for that matter, have you seen much change from when you were starting your companies to what you're seeing now?
Well, I would just say we started our business 24 and a half years ago, and I think the main change that I've seen is that there are more mentorship and support organizations for women entrepreneurs and women professionals than there were when we started. I'm a member of the WPO, the Women Presidents Organization. I've been involved in the local level and now the national level, and that has been a fabulous organization for me to be able to share ideas with other women entrepreneurs and business owners.
And I know you gave me some anecdotes when we were talking on the phone about some of the things that happened in the early days of your company, Angela.
God, where is that booze? Jeez. Okay. You know, the funny anecdote I shared is that even today, I still meet people every month that within the first, I would say, 30 seconds of opening the conversation, and I tell them that I own a business called Savor Seattle Food Tours. We do food and wine tasting tours. Inevitably, something along the lines of, "Oh, when did you start that cute little business?" comes out of their mouths. And male, female, it doesn't matter, age, gender. And I always struck by what part of what I just said would cause you to say small, cute, right? I don't understand it, right? And so what I would say is that in this day and age, it's best never to underestimate anyone, right? Be it female, male, young, old. Assume big, not small, right? And I would imagine even in a cupcake business especially, people will say, "Oh, that's so adorable." There's nothing adorable about waking up at 2 a.m, having baker's hours, I'm sure. And so that's, I think, a big lesson learned is that never underestimate anyone and never treat anyone like smaller than you would ever want to be treated. Think big, always.
In that same vein, yeah. Is there any advice or lessons learned that you two would give to, whether it be female entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs in general?
I mean, for me, I really believe in the notion of, I think, is it Peter Druckerberg? Is that his name? Drucker, okay, said the statement of culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I really love that statement. I feel like Howard Schultz taught me how to build, and that company taught me how to build a culture that encourages trust and collaboration so we can work together. There's not judgment. We respect each other and be a people first organization. One of my favorite quotes is from Maya Angelou. She said, at the end of the day, people will forget what you did and they will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And if that is the basis of what we do in every touch point that we do at whatever company, if we can do that and people walk away and say, God, I love that idea, I love that company, I love that, what these guys are doing, I think that's a pretty profound way to get into, to run a business, no matter who you are.
And as you grow, I think that becomes even more important to have the culture of the organization and the values of the organization stay as your always there that you can touch. We in the center of our office, we have our original conference room table where we dreamed about what company we wanted to be, and that has remained in the center of our organization to remind us of where we started. So from 2 of us and 2 folding tables to 125 of us in 3 cities, that remains always as the core of what we believe in.
I think for most, the hardest part is making that jump to being an entrepreneur. So leaving the comfortable and jumping into that water. And I always make an analogy to starting a business is very similar to window shopping. So you can be a window shopper and look at outfits through the window all the time and think, gosh, that bandage dress, can't tell if it's gonna be a sausage casing on me or make me look like, Paris Hilton. But until you try it on, you won't know. And so I always say, make that jump, do it now, put that dress on, otherwise you're never gonna know. Otherwise you can be a window shopper for the rest of your life, and that's what 99% of the world is. So take advantage, be part of that 1%, because you can always go back. You can always go back to 99.
Well, I want to open it up too, because I know that these guys probably have a lot of good questions. So we'll have a microphone. If anybody has questions, stand up, raise your hand, and we can bring you a microphone. We'll go right here.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for being here today and joining us. I am also a small business owner for the last 15 years here in Seattle. My business is all male. I have men's barbershops, so all my clients are men. In the last 15 years, I have had lots of great stories about if I was a male business owner would that situation have just taken place. So I wonder if any of you have also run into that, having that it's a female-owned business and we're dealing with, whether it's in the banking world or something, one of your retailers, would you have been treated the same way if it was a man standing behind there running that business?
Absolutely, you are treated differently. I mean, we're seeing it in the media, we're watching Uber, we're watching major corporations. There is a silent kind of mistreatment or not a lack of respect. And I guess the best thing to come out of that is that people are coming out and talking about that. And I think a lot of us care deeply about that, men and women. And I think that's a beautiful outcome of a pretty ugly past. And you are. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the largest growing, one of the largest growing industries on the planet. And it is a giant land grab, mostly men and mostly white men with a lot of money versus the true pioneers who created the industry. So it's a different world for me, from Starbucks and Cupcake to global giant opportunity.
Question over here, please.
Thank you very much for your presentations and your risk-reward strategies. Their data shows that the formation of new businesses has been declining for a couple of decades now. Obviously, that has a lot to do with the rate of entrepreneurial activity, and some of the blame has been placed on the creation of mega corporations, particularly in the tech sector. I wonder if you could comment on your own observations and what you think might be changing or be able to be changed to increase those rates of formation again.
Well, I mean, scale is one of the big challenges of our business, because there are a large organization. We compete now with Accenture, Deloitte, as well as other agencies, large agencies, and they're all getting consolidated. So we try to keep always our focus on what we can do differently than larger organizations, and accountability is kind of our core of what we do. And I think things will turn again, but it is a fight every day to have the same treatment as Jody was saying. You know, our healthcare costs are way higher than anybody's in a large organization than theirs. Just to help recognize that smaller businesses are the engine of creativity and growth, and I think that has to be recognized by our politicians, as well as the way we also give our business. And thinking about that local piece, those smaller organizations, those smaller companies where we can give our business to.
Thank you very much for your comments. Jody, you mentioned you're a graduate of Seattle University. I'm interested, from the three of you, what were the most important things you learned, I presume in higher education, that put you in the place you are today?
Okay, so earlier, I forget who it was that was speaking, but was also from my alma mater, UPenn? New Rotarian. Yes, that's right, Jack. I would say that the most critical lessons I learned at the Wharton School came out of Marketing 101. And that's not just because Rebecca's company did a rebrand. Truly, like, I mean, if you think about any small business or product or service that you're trying to sell, if you think about it from Marketing 101, you have to think about your product, production, how you're gonna sell it, how to get the word out. I mean, if you think about all of those angles that come basically down to Marketing 101, that is essentially how you start a business. And so that was by far the best credentialing, I would say, that I could have had, and that was freshman year.
I guess I do feel like I got great value. Going to college is awesome because you have to study and apply discipline and learn multiple things. But I feel like my best education was growing up in one of the fast-growing entrepreneurial companies with not only a great business model but culture, and that was leagues beyond anything I learned in school, honestly.
So we're running low on time. We're going to probably just do 2 more questions just to prepare people.
So as you heard, the theme earlier today was really about service above self and giving back to community. And I'm just curious how you all think about your corporate social responsibility and inspiring your employees and what you do as a company to give back to the community.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're a really values-driven organization, and we have some core values that we reward and hire and fire on. And one of our core values is around collaboration. And for us, we think a lot about helping students grow, helping young people grow in their careers. So we have an internship in Boise. We try and have interns here in Seattle as well. That's really important to us. We also firmly, not that there's anything wrong with it, but we firmly believe we would prefer to onshore jobs and not offshore them. And so it's a focus of ours to give those opportunities to young people today.
I just wanted to ask, you're obviously involved in mentoring. today as an example. But do you still need mentors, and where do you find them?
Yeah, like tomorrow I'm having coffee with Howard Wright. I mean, how cool is that to be able to even say that I can do that, which is amazing. No, you definitely need mentors, formal and informal. And I feel very lucky that having stepped into Seattle, not knowing a single person 11 years ago, to be here on this stage amongst this panel of incredible women is really humbling. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't reached out proactively to people in the community and just asked. I think that's really the key, is be vulnerable, ask. People are willing to help. You just have to pick up the phone. Don't email. Pick up the phone or show up, always.
Oh, I feel like I've always lived under the idea of ask for help. Nobody knows. We're in a brand new world all the time, recreating and trying to define things, and I ask for help. I talk to people at Starbucks to help me with Cupcake. I talk to the titan of the biggest cannabis company in the world called Privateer Holdings right here in Seattle 3.5 years ago, and sat down with him about kind of how to look at this market. And asking for help, it shows humility. It creates leaders by having them help you solve problems. I feel like that's what I do, and anybody that asks me for help, I absolutely sit down with people. Lately it's been a little crazy, but I absolutely do that because that's how I learned.
You know, this might sound kind of trite, but my mother was a very gracious person, and she always put people and how they felt and their comfort levels first. And so I focus on that every single day, that I want my staff and employees to feel great. I want my clients to feel great. I want their customers to feel great. And so that idea of always being transparent, honest, and gracious has stuck with me my whole career.
Thank you very much.